In today's video, I want to talk about a very important topic for early stage entrepreneurs: how to split the equity between the different co-founders. This is a very sensitive topic. It creates a lot of tension. It could create a lot of tension between the entrepreneurs at early stage, between the co-founders, because obviously it's a bit sensitive. I mean, do we split the shares equally? Should co-founder 1 get more shares than co-founder 2 because he or she is working more? It's a very difficult topic, and a lot of entrepreneurs dread that moment, are afraid of that moment when they need to sit down and have that discussion. I'm often called by entrepreneurs to try to mediate between the co-founders, well, actually to help them find a common ground. So for this, before I start, in the description of this video, you'll find a freebie. There's a link for a freebie, an Excel file I've developed that automatically, you just fill in a couple of information, automatically helps you figure out a good way to split the shares. Obviously, this is just a base ground to start discussing. Do download it. It's free, and trust me, it's super helpful. So what I'm going to do during this video is just explain a little bit the process, and then we'll go through the Excel together just to show you how it works. It's very super simple and extremely helpful. Before I start, the way I'm approaching this is I'm considering that there are 3 types of co-founders, just to make the discussion a bit easier. There are what I'm calling the funding co-founder or angel co-founder. They're the co-founders who are not going to work on the project, but are putting in some money. Could be friends, could be family, could be just someone who's an acquaintance who really likes the project and wants to give some funding to kickstart. I'm talking very early on. The company is not set up yet. The second type of co-founder are full-time co-founders. They're the ones who are going to do the bulk of the work. But there's a third type of co-founders. They're the ones, what I'm calling part-time co-founders. Because initially there's no money, they have to continue, let's say they have work or they're in university and they need to, so they're working on the project, they're, co-founders, but they can give full time on the project. And obviously, as you can guess, splitting the shares between the different category, obviously they can't have the same shares, the same equity, but there should be a mechanism to be able to say, well, the full-time co-founder is going to get 25, the other 15, etc., etc. And this is what we're going to do. So how this is done? And by the way, obviously this is a critical important of the co-founders agreement that I advise entrepreneurs, and I tell you, if you are starting with a project, please sign a co-founders agreement before you do anything else, because this might, if you don't, you may have, it can cause problems later on. So how do we do this? Well, the approach is in fact very simple. It's a 5-step approach. Step 1, just start by dividing the shares equally between all the co-founders. So let's assume there are 5 co-founders. Each one gets 20%, 20%, 20%. Step 2, take the angel co-founder, the one that's providing the funding, or the ones providing the funding, and just put a value for the money, as if it's any investor. How much is valued the company, and consider this investment as an equity investment. Usually for pre-seed startups, very early stage, you're still at the project stage. If you're having this discussion between co-founders, that means your startup is probably valued between roughly $500,000 to $1 million, because at this stage you don't have much. You're just starting a project. Probably closer to let's say $500,000, $600,000. If you're not comfortable with this, you'll see in the Excel in a minute how this happens. Step 3, and this is the trick I've devised, which is just give an equity boost to the full-time co-founder. You'll see in the Excel how this works. What's the equity boost? Well, the full-time co-founder is, at this stage, 99% of the time there isn't money to be paid. They're not getting any salary for doing this. They're not going, they're just focusing all their time and life basically on that startup, on that project. Versus a part-time co-founder who's probably getting a salary elsewhere or finishing their studies. So it's a bit unfair to just give the same the same amount of equity. So this equity boost is like it's a boost that compensates for the extra time that full-time co-founder is spending on the project. Usually you can do the boost between 15 to 30% increase. You'll see again in the Excel, it's not plus 15 or plus 30%, it's just an increase. And this is usually pretty fair in the way it happens. I find that usually it's pretty fair. Last step, well, take what's remaining of equity and divide it between the part-time co-founders. It's a very simple method, and trust me, I've used it with many entrepreneurs. It's super efficient. It's very fair. Now, obviously, this is not, there aren't any, the ultimate scientific method, but it's a good base to start at least a discussion between the co-founders. And you should have that discussion. It's not bad to have that discussion. The problem when the discussion is happening is there's no base to start with. So this file will help you to start with. So now I'm going to show you how it works in the Excel. Again, in the link in the description, there's a link for the file. It's totally free. Go get it. I'm going to show you how it works, and it'll be very useful for you guys. So you start by adding the number of co-founders, 5 in this case. And then you go down, you just enter how they're, the different types of co-founders between the full-time, part-time, and the funding co-founders, the angel one. And then you enter the early stage pre-money valorization, how much you think the project is valued at this stage, the money given by the funding co-founders, and then the premium from the full-time work that you suggest to give to the full-time co-founder, and it automatically gives you the equity per co-founder. I hope you liked this video, that you found it very useful. If you did, please click like on the video, subscribe to the channel. It will tell me that you're appreciating the work I'm doing, and also you'll be notified first when I'm uploading new videos and new freebies, and keep sharing this with your fellow entrepreneurs, with fellow innovators. Share the channel. I'll be very grateful. Thank you, guys.